Christian hip hop space, Christian R&B space. I see all these spaces and I'm like, man, like they need someone to help them as well on many levels, not just the music side, but many levels spiritually.
Yeah. Can I kind of prod and poke a little bit?
Yeah.
So one of the things I talk a lot about in a book I just wrote called God Made Mission, which we get you a copy of, is the idea that often people just, as Christians, we know we're supposed to remove sin, right? We know there's things we shouldn't be doing. But what we tend to forget to do is you can't just remove vice without replacing it with virtue. And so was there a layer to what you're just saying, if I'm just listening to you from the outside in, where you knew, oh, I should be doing X, Y, and Z, but it wasn't until you had the vision to replace it with something new, something fresh, something different, something challenging, Christian hip hop.
The people that discipled me, you know, in terms of worldview, and it was so much I had to detangle. But my child, my son, my 10-year-old, and my 4-year-old as well, like John Keith, like he knows John Keith. Like John Keith comes by the house, you know, Indie Tribe, Forrest Frank, you know, Hovey, like. He has met all of his favorite rappers, like literally all of his favorite rappers he's met, or at the least he's been on FaceTime with them. And so I was like, man, what if I would have met Tupac at 10? What if I would have met
It that much? Then something's not right, because that just means I'm convicted.
Or like John Keith, like he knows John Keith. Like John Keith comes by the house, you know, Indie Tribe, Forrest Frank, you know, Hovey, like. He has met all of his favorite rappers, like literally all of his favorite rappers he's met, or at the least he's been on FaceTime with them. And so I was like, man, what if I would have met Tupac at 10? What if I would have met Nas at 13? You know, like what a trip to see the experience that he's having, and the music that is coming out today is so wholesome. And so it's like, I don't really have a desire to even go back to stuff. Meaning, like, I'll listen to like the latest Nas, Mass Appeal release. It's like, well, it's not a rotation like that, you know? Because there's so much good Christian music.
Ask you a question, like, I gotta ask you a question, because like, I've always wanted to understand this, because I was watching another episode of yours recently, and you were talking about, you know, the dude from, I think, he's in Eclipse, and one of them
Malice,
Malice, and then
I like that he brought this up. So now this is fair game. Go ahead.
No. The reason why I asked, because it's like I always wanted to know, like, as I watch different podcasts and I watch different Christian podcasts specifically, why the emphasis is on secular artists, right? Like, I feel like there's a big emphasis on what happened yesterday with Justin Bieber's project just dropped, or Eclipse project just dropped, and it's like, I feel like it's interesting to me. I'm trying to learn, like, why as Christians do we study secular? Like, even in our label, I have most of my artists on my label will text me and say, hey, yo, you think you can get so-and-so on my project? And it's always a secular artist, right? My son was talking to an artist last week, and he asked her, like, so who are you inspired by? She's a Christian artist. And it was like Drake, Kendrick, Future, these are all the people. And I'm just like, is it that we don't have enough great Christian artists out there, like for your son listens to, right? Do we not have enough? Or why is it that we feel like we still have to go to the world to be inspired? And that's starting to jolt my spirit like crazy lately, because I know, like in James 4, we're not even supposed to be like looking at worldly things like that. And it's jolting me, because I'm watching all of these different Christian podcasts. Like, you know, I've had conversations with like a Marcus Rogers before, right? But let's say Marcus Rogers, like, he talks 9 to 10 times about secular artists. So I just want to understand, like, from someone who actually does this, like, why do we feel the need to go? Can we not talk about Christian artists? Is it not juicy enough? I'm just trying to figure out the perspective.
I like that Rodney Jerkins is pressing me right now on Christian YouTube. This is great.
I'm sorry, but
no,
this is great. Me different.
Yeah. So I would say we are talking about Christian artists. I'm talking about Christian artists. We did 2 Forrest Frank videos this week because he got miraculously healed from a back injury. It was supposed to take him 6 to 12 weeks, and he got healed in 2 weeks, and he's back to walking without walking with a back brace, on top of having like 2 #1 songs.
Wow.
Back to back.
That's amazing.
That he wrote while broke without being able to use. So we just did 2 Forrest Frank videos this week.
Okay.
I've done videos highlighting Christian artists all the time, right? Here's the macro though. The macro is there still is a culture out there, and in the same way that Jesus would use cultural references, he's talking about farming and agriculture. He's talking about the 10 bags of gold. He's talking about the 5 talents, right? Like that. Those are cultural references that I think people can resonate with. That stuff made sense to them at that time, right? Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, right? So that's a reference to a iconic person in that culture. So when we're talking about it, I attempt to do 2 things. One, I attempt not to just dunk on culture and not just say, Justin Bieber is still smoking weed, right? No, I go, hey man, here's all the things he did really well. Like, I'm really proud of him for doing X, Y, and Z really well. I think it's dope that he talks about Jesus.
That's why I watch you so much, because I feel like you're not bashing people.
Yeah, I really try. I really try.
And I feel like after you give the context of the content, you go to scripture.
Yes.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I've been really, I see a lot of artists always hit me up for the secular piece.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to figure out, like, why do we feel we really have to
So
go that
I'll explain that in a second, though. So I think, one, that's why I do it, and I'm also trying to create a different precedent that when the person I'm making a video about clicks in the video, they hear me sandwich it with something really positive, hopefully, and then a concern or a critique I may have, and then something really positive at the end. And oddly enough, people keep watching. Like I mentioned Tyrese. Me and Tyrese became friends because I made a video bigging him up, and then said, hey, I'm concerned about some of this stuff. You know what I mean? So that's my intent. I can't speak for everybody in the space. I do think that the music space is still slightly behind, because there is still a need for validation from the world a bit, where, like, I don't need a non-Christian to come on my platform to feel validated. If I get to interview, I don't know, Justin Bieber someday, cool. If I don't, cool. Like, I don't need that to validate what I'm doing. But I do think these are interesting cultural conversations where there's overlap with faith. I do think that. But rappers desiring secular collaborations, I don't know. I think if there's genuine relationship with someone that you have, and they're a secular artist, or maybe a non-Christian artist, a secular artist who's a Christian privately, I think that's a bit different. Like, I think we all want to make music with folks who you're friends with, even if they're not Christian. Like, I think that's what creative people do. But the desire to be like, I need a verse from fill in the blank, I need a feature from I haven't felt that way in a decade plus. I haven't done that. I just haven't felt that way. So I think there's still a desire for validation. I think we still want to be validated by the world, because we don't feel validated in our identity in Jesus. And I'm not saying for everybody, all places, at all times. I'm saying generally, I think it's in my opinion, from a little bit of an immaturity. You know what I mean?
It's wild. It's just wild. It's wild because here we have the cheat code, the King of Kings, and yet we still want to be validated by people who are struggling with so many different things and pushing so much stuff on our children that's not of God, but yet we want that.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that Christian music, though, as a whole, but specifically Christian hip hop, is getting there. Like, I think the resurgence we're seeing with what's happening in CCM, the Philwick and Brandon Lake stadiums, Forrest Frank arenas, I think it's about to, I think Christian hip hop is next. Like, I just saw Hobie pack out the same venue that Forrest packed out, 1,000-seater in San Diego, 1,500, 1,200, something like that. The Observatory in San Diego. I just saw Hobie there. 3 months before that, I saw Forrest sell out the same venue. So I think it's about to happen. The hard part is music at scale that serves a need in the market. Meaning that what Forrest does, what Hobie does, man, it serves a very specific need and it's clear in what it is, and it's a very clear brand product proposition. I think Christian hip hop's a little fuzzy on that, right? Sometimes we don't know if we want to be sold out for Jesus or if we want to be Mr. Undercover Christian but still play at churches. Like, I think there's a bit of an identity crisis in some of that stuff, but I think it's getting refined. Like, I think it's getting more and more refined. But creative people are just hard, man. Like, creative people in general, you know, are just difficult, you know, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll you know what? I want to be a leader in our community that doesn't get too caught up in the numbers of it all.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes, like, we want those features because it's going to boost the number, right? So it's like, yo, if I get so and so on the record, like, what does it really matter?
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, okay, so the record's going to get more exposure because that person's on the record. The numbers are going to go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that really the goal, or is the goal really to touch lives?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has to be and I want to help these artists, so I'll be the first one when they ask me. I'm honest with them. I'll be like, do you really need? If you want me to, I'll reach out. But do you really need? Like, I had to recently tell someone that where I was like, I would prefer that, you know, the artist discover your music this way. You know,
That's the best way right there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
If someone is like, yo, and they hit me up and be like, yo, there's this artist, this Christian so and so, like,
Yeah.
like, I just feel like that's a way better story too.
I think the consumer is becoming more sophisticated with that's what they prefer as well.
Yeah.
I don't think this idea of like, well, you can't. I mean, look, the biggest labels in the world like are having trouble breaking artists. Like TDE is still having trouble breaking Doechii, and she got put on Grammy, and she's still doing festivals, and it's rough, you know. So it's like the biggest labels in the world with the machines behind them are still having trouble breaking artists. So because the listeners become more sophisticated, and they want to feel like I discovered this,
That's right.
not that it was shoved in my face by
right.
the algorithm, you know. But I discovered it. So I think you're honest, but I think it does require someone like you that has had the success and is in a place where it's almost like the way you speak sounds like I can't tell if you're coming from the perspective of Solomon and Ecclesiastes. Like, I've tasted it all, I've seen it all, and like, you know, work your land and love the Lord. Like that's the right. Or you're Solomon and Proverbs. Like, I can't tell which season you're in terms of you having experienced the peaks of what the world has to offer and now being settled. Which one do you think?
I think the first one. I think I tasted it all, seen it all, and I know it's better.
Yeah.
I know God has better.
Come on.
And I want to see that. I want to taste that. I want to feel that. I want to touch that. I want to know all that He has. And I know it's so much more. And I also believe it's so much that I can't even handle it right now. So He's giving us little pieces here and there to show us like this is what I have for you. I'm gonna give you a little appetizer. I can't give you the whole buffet. And but it's exciting to be on our journey.
Yeah, that's good. You brought this up earlier, the clips, right? From one standpoint, a phenomenal body of work, a phenomenal moment in hip hop. You got two brothers that are Push's almost 50. Mal is in his 50s, and massive record, massive cultural moment. I think it's saying a lot about just the shift in hip hop. That like it one, lyrics matter. Two, you don't have to age out. That you can be a grown man. You can be a grandfather and still make music that resonates with you, right? The flip side of that is that I think some of what they rap about, not all of it, is also a bit of it's a character. I am playing in a movie role, and it's this whole thing that we're doing. And so, what do you make of that moment from what is happening within the zeitgeist of hip hop, but then from the faith aspect of Mal, who is a solid Christian? Like Mal is a solid dude.
It's just interesting to me because maybe I'm thinking a little bit too deep with it. But like when I think of it, when you say like this, okay, you have a 50-year-old and you have someone in their 50s, right? Mm-hmm. And not even knowing that album, I could probably tell you that the subject matter is similar to many subject matters that they've talked about before, right? You know, street stuff, right?
Coke rap.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can almost guarantee that stuff is not even happening in their lives right now. So then it becomes a thing where now I'm questioning the real intent, because hip hop to me, from as a purist, as a kid who grew up in hip hop, you told stories from the places that you lived and where you were at, right? You're taking stories from now. If you're telling those same stories and you're 50 years old, something's wrong.
Well, you're telling stories from your 20s and now you're in your 50s.
You told those stories. I feel like if I had to go through lyric by lyric, I'd be like, I bet you I heard this before. I bet you I could find, like, I said this somewhere else 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, right? So my thing is, from a growth standpoint, we're growing now, right? But clearly, if you look at, like, Jay-Z, for example, right? He doesn't make too many albums, right? But you can clearly see that he wasn't talking about things that he was talking about in his 30s anymore. It changed. The subject matter had to change because he's just not living that anymore. Like, the kid is not in Brooklyn on the streets anymore. He's company, so it was just, and you heard him talk about that. So I think from a hip-hop purist perspective, like, it would make me wonder. I bet it's great. I bet it's really good. I bet the music is really good. I bet the musicality of it is really good. I was just wondering the subject matter, what they're saying, if how real it is.
I have came across a lot of folks who behind the scenes live rather normal lives. Hip hop artists, big artists, who behind the scenes live pretty normal lives. Maybe they're not, married with a family, but they got, they're with their BMs, they got their main girl, and they're trying to, like, they got a home and they come home to someone, right? And then publicly they got this persona as the drugged out rapper, the pimp rapper, the player rapper, the drug dealer rapper, the gangster rapper. What do you make of that? Like, what do you make of dudes that have a different persona but privately live more of what you would call a nuclear family?
I mean, I think many people live that and choose that road anyway. They're not exactly who they are. Like, from big actors that we see, right?
Yeah.
And artists.
Yeah, I think it's specifically someone like Future who got sober and kept rapping about being on drugs.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, that's really sad to me, And then when more was discovered, Juice WRLD was influenced by likely a sober Future to do drugs.
Do you think the reason why someone like that keeps rapping about that is because they feel like the people won't want to listen to them rap about anything else, right?
I think so.
I grew up with friends of Mace. Actually, I'm the one who led Mace to the Lord.
Word.
Back in the day, yeah.
Wow.
So, like, knowing Mace, like, to me, like, I don't really care for a murder Mace because it's like, if I'm talking to you, when I'm talking to you as Mace, but then I hear the murder man, I'm like, that's not, maybe you could be that back 20 years ago, but that's not who you are.
Why do you think he did that when he signed with G Unit post being a pastor?
Because I think it goes back to, like, even the Future thing. I think sometimes it's just like, you're struggling and wrestling with just that acceptance of, like, I don't want to just be out of this game. So, and everybody's calling me corny and this and that, instead of just being like, yo, this is what it is. Like, yo, God changed my life, and I can't touch that no more.
I love the Welcome Back album.
Listen, Mace is one of the, by the way, low key, Mace is one of the best lyricists.
He's nice.
Nice.
But that Welcome Back album was amazing.
Nice, bro. No, he's nice. He's been here and worked on some stuff, like God stuff, Christian stuff.
Yeah.
Like, he nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, like, I think a lot of times the world be pulling.
Yeah.
Like, the enemy's always busy and trying to, and also will try to make you feel like, boy, you are nice, but you're only that nice on this side. Like, over here, it's not going to really do anything. But over here, like, you need something. Again, it goes back to validation.
Yeah. I did an event with Mace, and what was interesting was how well he preached. And then how normal he was, like, all things considered. Like, he was a normal dude. And then I saw him in Atlanta. I popped into his church, me and my wife, and all love, like, the sweetest dude, So then it was like this back and forth.
He was on the church in San Diego at one point, I think.
Yeah. So this back and forth of him kind of in the music, out the music, in the music, out the music, preaching, doing the music, like, and then
because he's nice.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
But why not